Hey everyone, how you doing?
Hey,
Steve. Hey, Bob.
Welcome to Friday.
What's up?
No Evan this week because the weather, concert, something along lines. I don't know. He gave a kind of a jumbled answer to why he couldn't make it, but something's going on with the weather.
He was going to try to remote in. That's why I think.
Oh, so he's just bailing on the remote. Remoting in's always a bad idea.
Yeah.
It would have been cool though. I would love to see like what they got going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because he goes to those concerts, you know. I wonder like how crazy is it for him?
It's pretty crazy from what I understand.
Yeah.
What he tells me.
You want to see him crowd surfing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, imagine. Oh my God, that would be awesome.
I'm just not ready for huge crowds yet, like that.
You're not, Bob?
Yeah, like that, shoulder to shoulder with hundreds and hundreds of people.
No way.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about it. No thanks. So
I guaranteed COVID.
I secured the hotels for our two private shows on March 25th in New York and March 27th in Boston. So those are done. So those will be up on the site. So Steve will make that announcement for tomorrow's podcast.
Sure.
And tonight I'm going to watch. I'm 2 episodes behind on Boba Fett, so I'm watching them both.
Oh God, man!
These are the good 2 episodes to watch.
Huh? Yeah.
Are you caught up, Bob?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's. I mean, it's Friday. Of course, I'm caught up because we could talk about it, but now we can't.
No, we can't talk about
caught
it.
up.
Sorry.
2 weeks
Plug your ears, Jay.
I have kids, man. I don't have time for TV and things like that. I just don't.
Hit the off switch. Put them in the corner. Oh wait, I didn't invent that yet.
So I talked to Bob a little bit about this, and I mentioned it to you last night, Steve. But I wanted to talk to you guys about. This idea. Well, it started with a post I put on Facebook about Joe Rogan, and insanity ensued because some people can't stand the fact that anybody thinks anything ill of Joe Rogan. Apparently, it was low on politics, which was good, even though it was present. But there is this thing that a lot of people don't agree with that I just assume that skeptics understand and agree with this idea. So here is this concept.
Mm-hmm.
There are experts in this world. If let's talk about medical experts, because it's not so general a topic. We have medical experts, right? They become an expert by getting a very aggressive medical education. Then they have to be educated in their specialty. Then they have to actually, operate inside of their specialty. And even then, not everybody that is in that field of medicine is truly an expert. There are people who are doing the cutting edge research and things like that. And that group of experts, however large or small they are, that group of experts are the people who legitimately can talk about, argue about, discuss, and throw ideas at each other, and say that, telling each other you're right and you're wrong. Out of all the people in the world, those experts are the only people that can truly talk about that topic where their opinion actually matters.
Right.
And then now draw a line underneath that list of those people. Pick any field of medicine you want. Draw a line under those list of experts who actually are, on the cutting edge of that specialty. Every single thing else that happens that's below that line, it's all of us. It's every blog, every YouTube video, every single word that is uttered that happens below that line is irrelevant. It's meaningless, because if you're expressing an opinion that doesn't follow in line with what the top experts believe, then you are patently wrong. And this came out in this thread where there was so many people that were like literally saying that their quote unquote research and opinion actually mattered. And I just couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, so you're saying that your collective understanding and education in that topic equals and is better than the actual experts? And people said yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Dunning-Kruger all over. I mean, they have no idea how wrong they are. I mean, they're like children challenging their parents, on a topic that the children know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, it really is.
It is. That's a perfect analogy.
But it's also neuropsychological humility, right, Steve? Being humble in your understanding of things, being able to admit to yourself that you don't know, and your opinion literally is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Everything that happens below that line, below that group of experts, is literally noise. It's noise. Because think about what happens. Let's follow the pathway of what's happening, right? So a paper is put out by the experts, by one of or more of the experts, and they're going back and forth, and there's research going on back and forth. But at some point, somebody reads some of this research, reads a news article, becomes aware of what's going on in some scientific community, and they write a blog post about it. And somewhere along the line, the information gets distorted, whether it's deliberate or not. It becomes corrupted. It becomes completely misunderstood and repurposed for other things. And then somebody writes a blog about that, makes a YouTube video. Then somebody else reads the blog, watches that YouTube video. Then somebody else reads that person's blog and now is arguing on Facebook about what they think the truth is.
Yeah.
And all of it's nonsense. Every single thing that happens underneath that line is 100% irrelevant. The only thing that's actually relevant is just communicating it correctly. That's it.
Yeah, right. That's it. Only communication is the only thing that really matters. I mean, and regulation and whatnot, but it all should be based upon the consensus of expert opinion. And if you're not basing it on that, you're doing it wrong. But it's probably even worse than you think, Jay, because, like, for example, I remember not too long ago, we were having a conversation, one of our meetings. So this is now, Yale neurology with a meeting of all neurologists, academic neurologists, each experts in their own way. Mm-hmm. And some topic came up, and, we were talking about what somebody thinks about that topic. And I remember, my chairman's like, well, why do we care what they think? They're not an expert they're not a world-class expert in that field.
Yeah.
So why do we care what they think? Like, you could be even one tier below a world-recognized expert, and nobody gives a damn what you think. Because
you could be working right next to them, right? You could be in the same office building as them with a very similar education, but because you're not on that level,
Yeah.
You still have to like bow down to that what they're doing and thinking, because they're the top thinkers in there. And to think, Steve, that we're talking about people that have medical degrees, that have very, very
that are scholars, academics.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Yeah, but I'm not a world expert in that, so I have to defer to the people who actually know what's going on. The other thing is there's so much they thinking that it's again, it's so naive, and it shows that they don't have any expertise in anything, right? I mean, if you, in order to have that opinion, either that or they're compartmentalizing so much. Again, I always remember, because I did a fellowship in neuromuscular disease, right? So now you have neurology, then you have a small subset of that is neuromuscular disease. And one part of neuromuscular disease is diseases of the muscle, just, just studying muscle disease. And like during my fellowship at a library of books that we had as a resource for us. And there were these 2 tomes, like huge books, 2 of them that was just on muscle disease.
Yeah.
Right. That was one part of neurology, which is one part of medicine.
Yeah.
And there was an incredible depth and breadth of knowledge in that one field. And that was textbook level knowledge. That wasn't even the real expertise, which is, having a mastery of the hundreds or thousands of publications in that field, and knowing what the experts think, the other experts think,
right,
and knowing what's being presented at meetings that hasn't even been published yet.
Yeah, it's not even in the textbook yet.
I mean, you having a working knowledge inside and out of the nuts and bolts of how the research is being done and who thinks what and what we know and what we don't know. And you can't even imagine how deep that knowledge goes. And it's sitting on top of an incredible background knowledge that you need to have and take for granted before you could even enter into the conversation.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody who's not even a doctor who thinks that they're going to question that based upon a incredibly superficial level of knowledge. And even incredibly superficial.
We could even be even more critical on this, right? Even some of the experts who are arguing with other experts are wrong. They're wrong, even when they have it all there, because they're thinking of it in a different way on their level. So this idea that people, first off, this whole, skeptics have thrown this around a million times. Nobody's doing research anywhere. If you're using Google, you're not doing research.
As we said, you're doing literature research. You're not doing
scientific research. You're looking up what other people wrote. You're not like reading the nuts and bolts of what's happening inside of, unless you have access to the papers and you're reading those papers. But even still, good luck understanding all of it. And being able.
Well, here's another layer here. There's another layer here.
Let me throw my layer on that, because after everything you guys just said, so there's all this information that these experts have. So therefore, when you've got the consensus of experts, not one expert.
I know, right? Even
when you've got the consensus, you need to pay attention to that so hard, because this is the consensus. And the fact that you think you could go against that, it's far worse than even going against one of the main experts in the world. You're going against the consensus, which is even more ridiculous. It reminds me of somebody going into a surgical theater and going up to the surgeon saying, no, I have some input on what you're doing right now in this surgery. It's like, that's so ridiculous that nobody would even take that seriously. Unfortunately, there's so many other different disciplines of science out there that people can't take it seriously, because it's just kind of amenable to that type of thing. Like climate. It's easy to be an armchair jerk about climate, because it's easier to critique that than a surgeon in surgery. So it's so frustrating.
The other layer still, if I could, Jay, the other layer still is that people don't even know what's going on, let alone the scientific, back and forth. Meaning, like, people who think they have any understanding about what Fauci is doing or what's going on behind the scenes, because they read second, third hand accounts by partisan outlets. Like, and I've had to learn this over the years, like, it's easy to have opinions about like what the administration is doing or what some politician is doing or some agency or whatever. It's like, but the bottom line is we have no idea what's really going on behind closed doors, behind the scenes. We're getting third-hand information at best that is so filtered that we just basically have no idea. And you just have to accept that you don't know, you know? All right. Why don't we bring somebody else in on this conversation?
Okay.
Ian.
Do you want to intro them?
Jay?
What?
Drum roll.
Oh, sorry.
To you, Jay.
All right. So this is what happened. So Sharon, as you know, who is one of our patrons, who is one of the mods for Discord, she came up with this idea weeks ago that we should, she and I were talking about it, and we I don't remember exactly where it came from, but I'm pretty sure it came out of her head that we were going to have some patrons come on the show every once in a while, every other week or so, which you guys have seen. And it's been awesome. Like, we're having a great time and people are having a lot of fun, being involved and watching it. So then Sharon had this idea. I told her, I want her to find me patrons that have cool things that they're doing. And if they're on Discord, let's get them on the show. You know what I mean? Let's talk about, like, what's a cool hobby that you have, that we'd like to see video of or something. So the first person that she found is this person named Dell, who works on a farm that has animals. So it's an animal farm. And I don't know any more. Animal farming. I don't know any more details because we're gonna interview her and talk to her about it. But there's something going on. There's something going on tonight that's very special, right, Ian?
Yes.
I'm gonna let. Hey, Dell.
Hey,
So
Dell.
I just did a loose
how you doing?
intro of you.
Welcome.
So introduce yourself. Like, who are you? Why are you here? What's this business about you and farming? What's happening?
Yeah, so I am a dairy farmer. I started a dairy farm from scratch. Well, I started working on it when I started buying cows when I was 14 and working on other people's dairy farms. And then when I was 25, I quit my full-time job to dairy farm full-time. It is not a good time to have a small family farm in the United States. I don't know if anybody has heard about that. So in 2019, I had to go back and get a full-time job. So now I milk cows before and after work.
Yep.
And my day job is returning to what I did before I was farming full-time, which is animal nutrition. So I do specifically formulation animal nutrition. So formulas are basically the recipes for animal feed. And I do that for a bajillion different species. I mean, obviously the main farm animals in the US. So that's what I do in my 9 to 5. And then I have my dairy farm all the other times. And sometimes I deliver calves over lunch break. So my life is never boring.
That's amazing. So, all right.
Cool.
So right now are you on your farm right now?
Yeah, I'm in my home office right now. It is like -10 outside. So I apologize that I cannot take you on a lovely guided tour streaming of the farm.
So what caught me, you were buying cows at 14. I was buying porn at 14. You were buying cows.
Well, you were having people buy porn for you at 14.
That's right.
What kind of porn was even available when you were 14?
Oh, there was a lot.
Print.
You need, when you're 14, when you were 14 in the 70s, you needed an older friend who can hook you up. That's what you
we would use
find your
National
dad's
Geographic. You grab anything.
When I was 14, I had torrents for this. Okay.
That's I mean,
God.
catalogs. They were helpful at 14.
All right. So how many cows do you have on your farm?
So I am milking about 30 cows right now, which means I have about 35 adult cows because they're not all milking at the same time, and about 35 young cows. Growing up to replace the milk cows as they age out. So
now, can you make
what do you
money
do with the
off
milk
of
cows as
35
they age
cows?
out? Do you slaughter them and then eat them?
yes, I eat them.
Oh my
In my freezer right now is Nemo and Sugar. Those are the 2 cows in my freezer right now. They had lovely, beautiful lives.
Eat named things. So can you make money off of 30 cows?
No.
That's what I thought.
Well, okay. So no, the average dairy farm, like the average income to expense ratio for dairy farms in the US has been negative since 2015. Do you remember when I started milking cows full time? It was 2015.
Yeah. So why don't they just charge more money and make a profit? I don't understand.
So milk is a commodity. So I cannot charge a different price for my milk because I'm not selling milk to people. I'm selling milk. Most of us sell our milk to a co-op. So it's a farmer-owned co-op with thousands of us, but also the government the milk price is set by a complicated formula that has to do with like the commodity price of milk, like as far as the stock market is concerned, combined with like this really complicated government formula. And so even the biggest farms to break even, we measure milk by the 100 pounds, by the 100 weight. The CWT is the abbreviation, which is very weird. So a gallon of milk is like 8.6 pounds. So what is that? Like 11, 12 gallons. So right now, I actually had my best check in years. It was $22 for 100 pounds of milk.
Oh,
wow.
And even the
Buy some corn with
largest
that.
farm, even the largest farm, it costs over $20 to produce that much milk. So, and that's like, we're talking the scale of thousands of cows, right?
And so why, but so the obvious question is, why is anybody in the cow milk market? Why would anybody do it?
I mean, we are losing 10 to 15% of our farms, of our dairy farms every year are going bankrupt. So, or getting out without officially declaring bankruptcy. So yeah, I mean, I milk these cows every 12 hours for years, every 12 hours, 365 days a year. And these cows I am choosing, because we do all artificial insemination, right? Like I am choosing the sires out of books. I am like planning matings. Like these are like my genetic philosophy continued over, I guess 18 years now since I had my first cow that I bought, right? So like, it's just such a lifestyle that it's really hard for people to give up. So people tend to just like one or both of them will work off the farm while they milk their cows, right? And they'll just try to keep it alive, which is what I'm doing slowly. If I wanted to sell milk directly to people, I could do that, but I'd have to put in like a whole processing plant, right? So I would love to do that someday, but I kind of just got burned on the whole entrepreneur thing and big debt. And so like another 200 grand in debt doesn't sound like a great time to me right now, maybe in 5 years, but.
So I get it. I mean, you have an incredible amount of skin in the game, your heart and soul, your work history, all of that is meaningful. I totally get it, because we have that with the SGU. We all feel like, God, we've been working on this thing. Like it's important to all of us. So I get that.
Well, and a lot of people, like I'm very unusual that I started a farm from scratch. For a lot of people, this is the weight of generations. Like this is 150 years of their family history on this single thing,
They're waiting for the market to turn around. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, and it wasn't always so bad. This has been a trend that's been, rapidly accelerating. So like it wasn't always this bad, right? It wasn't always like this. So people it takes a while for people to adjust to the fact that like this kind of just might be how it is now. Yeah. Like I haven't even quite wrapped my mind around whether or not I think the market's going to turn around a little bit here or there, or if I should just accept that like it's been 7 years, it's not getting better.
Yeah, you would just think that the government would like become aware of this and do something about it, right?
Don't commodity markets follow supply and demand, basically?
They do. I got into a big thing on Discord about this, actually. They do, but do you know how people have been talking about how the housing market is having kind of a bubble because investors are speculating in the housing market? So in the early 90s, speculation in all of the food commodities was allowed. And now less than, what was it? Like, I think in the year 2005 was the last statistic I saw, only like 1% of all the trades of agricultural commodities happening were of the actual commodity. The rest were speculators. So just like the stock market is, if I could humbly suggest, just kind of rich people's feelings in a way is what it's measuring a lot of the time. The commodities are the same. The food commodities are the same. And it's really kind of messed up, I think, because food is such a like important thing for, kind of have to have it. And so, but think about it. I mean, if you guys listen to political stuff on both sides of the aisle, people get so mad about farm subsidies. Like dairy farms get subsidies and everybody hates that on both sides of the aisle. And you know what? I will take my like $2,000 check that I got because of the drought this summer and I will cash it. And it will mean nothing because I had to spend $30,000 on hay to keep my cows alive this summer during the drought.
I know it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like they should just let you guys increase the price. I mean, I know that sucks when prices go up for people, but it is what it is. But what can you do about it? You're on the other end of the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough because the thing is like my milk gets sold and I literally don't even know what I'm going to get paid for it until the check comes in the mail like a week or two later. So
Wow.
it's pretty wild. And the peaks and valleys in the price since the speculation has increased have just gone just wild up and down. So
well, thank you for giving me yet another thing to worry about. Now I've got to worry about milk.
No. So my thing with that though, and like, I don't want to be like too alarmist. And honestly, I was just catching up on your end of year show and stuff and the climate change stuff. Like what climate change is going to do to agriculture is really scary. I see it in the droughts and in the rain events that are multiple inches at a time. They say we're just going to get more and more of those rain events that are multi-inch rain events at a time. And there are a lot of advantages to like consolidation in agriculture as far as like efficiency, right? Like efficient supply chains and stuff like that. But also there's a point at which like there are food companies that like control like 20% of our food supply. And what does it mean when we start dealing with true food insecurity? Like here in the US, we're so spoiled that we've never dealt with like a country scale food insecurity event. And in my mind, that is the argument for trying to keep smaller farms alive, because now it's your neighbor that's hungry. It's not a giant corporation that owns all the farms, right? And then like corporations are like, they're concerned about profit, right? And there's a lot of articles that have been written about, companies make money when people go hungry.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. All right, let's shift into.
That was the most depressing possible topic. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, look, it's reality, and it's fascinating because I guarantee you, most of the people that are hearing this don't know. I've never heard about any of this before, so I want to know about it.
And we're big into depressing stuff.
But I would wish that there was something that people like me could do.
That way, right?
But let me ask you some other interesting questions. I have to just ask you this. What's the craziest thing?
One other thing though, so like to not just be super depressing, like what can you do about it? Like if you're buying stuff like from a farmer, like at a farmer's market or something, like that's one thing to do about it, to cut out the middleman. And like, the prices are higher because that's what it costs them to grow it. But of course, I think we all know like the challenge with that is how many of those people are doing it organically or doing it via other woo practices. So it's really hard to sort out like what to balance which of those things you want to help out, because it tends to be a little bit of one or a little bit of the other, So anyway, now we can move on. Sorry, I wanted to give people
no problem. Do you have like a story of something that happened on the farm that sticks out that we need to hear?
You're looking for some cow-related story, Jay?
Anything. I mean, look, I don't live on a farm. I'm sure there are farm things that happen that are weird and funny or unexpected or crazy, right?
Okay, so the coolest thing. So I was saying I do animal nutrition, and like one of the cool things about like specifically the job I have is I get to do formulation for like a bunch of different species. Like I don't do cats and dogs very often. I have coworkers that I'm close with that do, but I do like birds, cows, sheep, horses, pigs, all of it, right? And like all of those animals have like wildly different digestive systems, which is so cool. So cows have 4 stomachs. This is going to come back around to stories, okay? Cows have 4 stomachs. I mean, some people will be pedantic and tell you it's like 1 stomach with 4 compartments, but like, we get what we're trying to say, right?
Yeah. There's 4 chambers that are stomach-like. We got it.
Yeah. So that it takes 4 pieces, and which is super cool. And they are just like wildly different from the way our stomachs work, which is why cows can digest so much crap that like we would not have a chance of. So like most fiber they can actually digest. It just takes a really long time. That's why they have to chew their cud. They have like a 30-gallon compartment, their first stomach, that
so does Jay.
Ferment. It's just constantly fermenting. So they're always so that's the methane belches, right? I know Jay's methane problems are a little bit different.
Hey, I'm human. Anybody that has a metabolism is passing
Yeah,
gas.
that's
Let's
right.
face it.
Everybody.
Yes. And so then they have to, so that's like there's this, it's so cool. So in research or at universities, they have cows that have a hole in their stomach permanently. It's like this big, it's a port. And so they can do studies on what's going on in the rumen because it's completely colonized. Like we thought it was just bacteria, but it turns out there's even fungi, there's protozoa in there that are really important
Wow.
to the digestive process, which is really
Sure.
cool. So you can like put stuff in and you can take it out and you can measure the fluid. And they do a little bit of, they can absorb some volatile fatty acids directly out of the rumen into the bloodstream, but mostly they're just like working through that fiber. They're burping up a cud and then they're chewing it and then they're swallowing it again a couple times. So everything gets chewed
So does
a whole
Jay.
bunch of times. And then it goes into the reticulum. And the reticulum is really cool because cows get something called hardware disease, which
Ooh.
literally means they ate metal. And it goes down into their reticulum because the reticulum is kind of like the lowest spot, which also happens to be down by their heart. And if that metal is sharp, it can stab a hole. It can get close to their heart. It can cause peritonitis. It can cause issues like that. So one of the things that's very common practice is to feed all your cows a magnet like this big. And it's like the size of that's the size of a cow pill. And it just sits in their reticulum. And then hopefully anything metal, I mean, if it's like aluminum, if it's non-ferrous, you're screwed. But hopefully those things gather on the magnet and they are less likely to float around and stab into the meat because the reticulum is doing a lot of contracting, which is important because it's passing things on to the next stomach, which is the omasum. The omasum is mostly just dehydrating stuff. But then the abomasum is basically like our stomach. So it's hydrochloric acid is its main digestive thing or tool that it's using. It's enzymatic digestion is like what you would call it. It's basically like our stomach. So what happens to cows sometimes not long after they give birth, usually within like a week or two, and we don't fully understand why, is they get gassy. They get a bunch of gas, but not in the rumen where it belongs. They get a bunch of gas in their abomasum, the last stomach. And what happens is it floats up in the air. And when it floats, it twists. And you do not want twists in your digestive tract.
Of course.
So one of the only surgeries that you will ever do on a cow is if she has a twisted stomach, a displaced abomasum. And you literally, this is how you find it out. You put on a stethoscope and you go against her side and you ping it. And if she has a displaced abomasum, the abomasum should be like really low in the stomach, but it'll be full of gas and it'll be way up on the side. And it will go ting, 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 like the same as if you like had a basketball and you were doing this with a stethoscope on it. And that's how you know she has a displaced abomasum. And you literally just cut an incision in her side about this big. You poke a hole in the abomasum and you deflate it. And then you stick your arm, like you're all the way in there, like up to here. All the way in there. You put the abomasum back at the bottom of her belly and you sew it with just one stitch. You sew it in place and then you close her back up and she goes along her merry way.
And you've done this.
So the vets do it. Sometimes people can have, like, if you have like a really big farm, you might have an employee trained to do it, but I call the vet for it. I can detect them on my own and stuff, but I just call the vet out and then I'm just like their surgery assistant, making sure they don't get kicked or anything. You do a local anesthetic, but you can't have cows. Same with horses. Like you can't have them like laying down for surgery because everything would just like erupt everywhere. It would be terrible. So you just do a local anesthetic and they pretty much just stand there as long as you have them secured. But every once in a while you have a cow that gets a little feisty. I have kind of a rare breed of cows, like a heritage breed of cows. And so they tend to be a little on the feistier side there. So they're well known by my vet.
I have to click back to the magnet because I don't feel like we didn't finish that discussion. So what happens to the magnet? It just stays there forever and collects metal?
Forever.
You don't poop it out or pull it out or anything?
No, it just sits there. And so when
you
when
take
a cow
a magnet?
dies,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Del. Finish
well,
your
you
thought.
can take like a compass to see if she has a magnet, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like if you buy a cow and you're not sure.
Okay. I was thinking you could take like, you ever see how you clean an aquarium? You've got the scrubbing magnet inside and the other magnet on the outside of the glass. So you move it. So you could do the same thing with a cow. You put a magnet on the outside and move the metal out. I mean, but that probably wouldn't work, right? Because that's just a joke.
I feel like I would
right now.
definitely just end up like they would just like get stabbed. With the
Yeah,
nail.
they
You
would
don't
end up
want to
killing
move it
them.
around. I think the whole point is to keep it all like a glom in one place.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
yep.
now, did anything funny or weird or strange happen to you? I wanted to draw this out of you because something had to happen.
Like in my life ever? Like has anything
on the
strange ever
farm with
happened
the
to me?
animals? Like
What's
Jay
a
wants-
funny farm anecdote?
Yeah.
I want.
Jay
some
wants something
hijinks.
that's Jay wants
Something-
something that's moving.
Oh.
Evan texted me that. I had to do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
well,
I believe
I'm
it.
just trying to think. Like, I don't know that I have any like wildly like there is like so being a dairy farmer is kind of like being a cow OBGYN because like everything we're doing centers around their reproductive cycles, getting them pregnant, giving birth, lactating, right? So like one of the things I'm doing a lot is delivering calves. And sometimes those calves don't present properly, right? So they're not coming out. They should be coming out head first like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, things can go wrong. Backwards isn't too bad. But the really bad thing that can happen is if you get like the head in one leg, but not the other leg.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a problem. And it was really cool for me. Like I'm a real weirdo being a person who's just loves farming and like the circles I hang in and stuff. But something that was really moving for me is I've been really into like archaeology and anthropology podcasts, like history podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a case study on this podcast called The Dirt, where they just talked about this medieval farm site. And they could see that at this medieval farm site, this cow and this calf had both died, and that the farmer had had a head and 1 foot from the calf and had pulled and pulled and pulled. But you're never going to get anywhere pulling like that. What do you need? You need the other leg, right? You need to find the other leg and you need to get it back around and then you can pull them out. And I sat down and cried because a week earlier, that exact thing had happened to me. But because it happened to me once 10 years ago, I knew what I had to do. And it was the hardest delivery of my life. Like my arms were in the cervix. I was bruised from here down. It was so difficult. But at the end, I got a healthy live baby girl out, like a heifer calf. And I just like felt like, I think the farm site was from like the 1100s. And I was just like, a lot of people might think that I am the weirdest person they have ever met. But me and that guy 1,000 years ago, like we get each other. Like we're in the exact same situation, both of us. Like I wish I could go back in time and give him the advice that I got 10 years ago, when I screwed this up, right? So I don't know. And
that's
her name
amazing.
Is Twister. Her name is Twister, the calf.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Perfect.
So speaking of calves and naming, there is another layer to all of this. So apparently, you have a baby calf, right?
Yes. So
and you're searching
my
for a name.
cows. Yeah. So my cows are like I have like a heritage breed of cows because I do think preserving some. We have like seed banks, right? I think preserving some genetic diversity among our livestock species is important. So they're called Ayrshires. So they all have papers, like they are registered, right? So they all do need names, like they need names. And the convention is that their first part of their name should be my farm. The second part of their name should be their father. And their name, the one you're going to call them by, should be related to their mother's name in some way. So Twister's mother's name was Gale, like a storm. And she has a sister named Stormy, right? I have a whole family of gems. I've used about every gem in existence. There's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have this calf.
Have you used Peridot? Just curious.
No, that's probably going to be next, actually.
Right.
Because I haven't used that one yet because it's like not the greatest name in the world, but I'm running out of candidates. So this calf is a mystery calf. She was gifted to me and they don't know who her father or mother was. My aunt and uncle just gave her to me over Christmas because they didn't have any calves around her age. And there's a lot of research saying calves do better if you raise them in groups. So this calf has no genealogy. I have nothing to go on. I need to pull a name out of thin air. And I thought
you need to start a new genealogy of this calf.
So what happened was we all submitted a name. So me, Bob, Ian, Steve, and Evan all sent a name. So you have the names now. Ian, what are we doing? Are we is the audience voting or Del? Are you
Yes.
picking? The audience
Well-
is voting, right?
No, the audience is voting. I've entrusted this to them. I asked Jay to please not stick me with Cowie McCowface, and Jay kept his promise on that.
Of course,
So.
yes. All right, so here's what we have. So Ian, write these down and make a poll.
So I'm gonna make the poll on YouTube, by the way, everybody. So you got to go to YouTube to vote.
Okay.
I need to explain my name
Yes,
suggestions.
you do. Yes, you do.
Also,
So here
I have
are
an addendum to mine, but I'll let you go ahead.
here are the entries. And I won't say.
Also,
who
one of
gave
them has
what
to
yet.
change. Also, one of them has to change. I don't know if I told you.
Why?
Yes, one of them has
What?
changed. You got the
Willow.
latest.
Willow
Oh
is
yeah,
not.
sorry.
Yes.
I already had a calf named Willow. She's only like 4 months old too. If she was like old, I would have let it fly, but they're going
That's
to be
fine.
close to the same age. So
All right, the first one is CALF-INE, caffeine. Right, that's the first one. Second one is GAND-calf, GAND calf.
Also, extra points if you guess who said which one.
The third one is GASTROC, gastroc.
Like gastrocnemius, your calf muscle.
Exactly.
The
I
fourth
didn't
one,
connect that.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. The fourth
It's
one
the calf.
is
Yeah.
spelled I-A-N.
It's a great name, Steve.
It's Ian. That is the fourth entry.
Mhm.
The name Ian. I wonder who. I don't know.
I wonder who submitted that one.
Somebody.
And then the final one is Zelda, ZELDA.
So we're gonna have to do it in a bracket, basically tier list, sort of not tier list, but bracket, because I can only do 4 options on the YouTube poll. So we'll start with the first ones that you did, and then we'll add Zelda in there.
Okay, so first off, thank you, Patrick, for your donation. We
So,
really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you everybody who's giving me donations. Steve, do you want to explain your name?
I think we just did.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry. I didn't hear it.
It's the calf muscle.
Oh,
So
I get it.
do you pronounce it gastric? Gastroc? What is it?
Gastrocnemius.
It's
is the full name.
gastrocnemius, but we call it the gastroc for short.
All right, gastroc.
Can
That's
anyone
kinda
guess?
like Bagel Rock.
Bob.
Ian, do you want to show them the video of the
Yeah, let's
calf
see
Yeah,
the video.
so I
before
do
they
have the
vote?
video.
Do you want
So
to?
before you vote, yeah, that way.
Hey, you got to
Yeah,
see
I
the
took-
calf.
I took a video because I wouldn't be able to stream. It's like -10 Fahrenheit
Yeah.
out there.
Mhm.
So
You got
sorry.
No worries.
No problem. Let me play that. I had it all queued up, and now, of course, it's not queued up. Give me 1 second. Here it is. Bada bing. It's a couple minutes long, but should be showing up in just a moment. There they are. And then
Yeah.
here-
And Jay specifically requested that I video the calf and anything else interesting. So like I just showed you the older cows too. She's
So
ignoring.
that's
us.
the calf one we're looking at right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's like a
Hi.
cute shot.
Oh my God, she's adorable. Hey, did they get to know you really well?
Yeah, they definitely
look
can tell
up?
people apart and they'll respond to us
It's
differently.
kind of a mean looking face.
Sorry.
Can you look up.
I didn't really talk very much in the video. I
It's
promise.
Hi,
okay.
Dory.
Alright.
Okay. I just like tried to
Hi,
get her
pretty
attention.
girl.
It's funny how
I love
baby
her little
anythings
nose
are cute.
freckles.
Did they lick
Her
you?
little nose freckles are so sweet.
Oh, I know they are adorable.
Good
So I'm sorry.
girl.
So how well can they get to know you? I mean,
Would you like a name?
where's their
Yeah,
intelligence?
so
All right,
So,
the
like,
poll is
I-
up, by the way, everybody. Poll
I
is up.
milk them every 12 hours, right? So like they are definitely like more comfortable around me. Like I can like walk up to them much closer before they would start to walk away than like any of you could, right? Because they don't know you. However, if I like buy a brand new jacket in like a fluorescent color, sometimes they will definitely respond differently. Like, who the hell is that? Until I open my mouth and start talking to them, and then they'll calm down a little bit. So yeah. To train them like where they need to go to get milked, it usually only takes like a day or two before they know what they should be doing. However, I can milk them on the right side or on the left side, and about 10% of the cows are never smart enough that they could be going on either side. Like about 10% of the cows will be like The right side is where I go, and the left side, the floor is hot lava, and there is death over there, and you will never get me to go there.
Oh my God.
Which is really annoying because you have to remember who they are. Like Alberta will only go on the left, and Phoenix will only go on the right. Those are my two jerks right now. So
My God, the farm is huge.
it's actually really small. It's only 21 acres, and then another 15 acres that I rent because land prices are kind of wild.
Hello, Mama.
Wow.
So these are the big mamas.
Hello.
Cows really don't mind the cold much at all. They
How are you all
they
doing?
have that rumen. It's like constantly producing heat, right? Because it's fermenting. So
Oh.
anything over 50 degrees, at least for like North American cows, Bos Taurus, not Bos Indicus. Like Bos Indicus cows are like really well adapted to the heat, but Bos Taurus cows, anything over about 50 degrees Fahrenheit is actually pretty uncomfortable for them. So they almost prefer the cold. And that's a
That
bull
makes
back
sense.
there, that white one that was glaring at us. He's very angry. His name is Mari.
Would you mind telling us what state you're in?
I'm in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm about an hour from Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hello, Olena.
That's
Did
Olena.
you grow up in
yeah.
Minnesota?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You do have
my
a little bit of
grandparents
an
have a farm
accent,
in
but not
Iowa.
Yeah, I
much.
hear it.
Yeah.
Every now and then it comes through.
That's all right. At least I don't say aquatic like you guys.
We were just talking last night about our accent and our perception of our own accent. Because every once in a while people will comment on certain ways we pronounce words and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's pretty cool.
All right. So the
It is
first
fun.
iteration of the poll has resulted in. Well, I may have skewed the scale because I said Ian will be the cow's government name, but nickname will be Watermelon. So currently, Ian, nickname Watermelon, has won at 32%, 29% for caffeine. Gastroc is 24%, and GANCAF is 15%. We do have to do a second poll, and this one will be between. Actually, wait, caffeine is making a comeback. So go ahead and get your votes in to see
Caffeine
what's
is
going to
pretty
happen.
cute. I have
Caffeine
to
is
say.
cute. So the next poll will be a decider between Zelda and whichever the winner is. So go ahead and you got another minute about. I
Okay,
think that's
so
the end of the
while
video.
we're waiting, somebody else, Grant Miller, thank you, Grant, for your kind donation. We really
Super chat.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Del, are you nervous about the outcome of this in any way?
No, not really.
Pretty
I
low
think
stakes.
the name choices overall, they weren't too bad. So I'm comfortable with it. I knew I was putting it in your hands, and I trust the SGU fan base to be discerning.
Good. All right, Ian, let's
Let's go.
let's do it.
Just decisive. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
saying that's decisive. Oh wait, it's 31%, 31%.
Oh no!
You
Well, you
should-
can do a
Ian,
three-way.
Ian, you should just
Okay.
drop the lowest and then do another poll with the remainder.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Okay, so
I like that
we'll
idea.
drop GANCAF and we'll
Yeah.
pick the other ones. So give me a second. All right, Bob.
That
So
choice
we'll
Okay.
go
wasn't
with
that great.
Bob one.
Bob, though, that's actually good because I already have a Lord of the Rings themed line. I have Eowyn, Arwen, and Idril so far. So
Okay.
I need to keep that going over there.
Okay.
You
Somebody
have a Star
wrote-
Wars line? Do you have somebody?
I
said, like,
don't.
Oh my
Obi-Wan
God, you and
Kenobi.
we clearly need to talk. I would love to be a part of that. Somebody wrote, low stakes.
R2D
question mark.
Moo.
I just thought that was fun. R2D.
I have a pun. I also have a philosophy degree along with my animal science degree. So I do have a
Sure
cow
you do.
or a cow name. I have a cow named Camus, Camoo.
That's
So
awesome.
Taboo.
She hasn't had any daughters yet, though, so like I'm waiting. I also have a cow named Kepler. I would like her to have a baby girl,
Nice.
so I can name it Hubble. I think that would be
Excellent.
fun.
Oh.
I have some nerdy cow name lines. Just it takes
Good.
time.
You
They have
need
to
help. You
collaborate.
clearly need to talk to me because I can fill your head with especially if it's
Mhm.
Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm on. I am
Alright,
an
the poll is
expert
up.
in Star Wars and Star Trek, Steve. I'm an
Yeah?
expert. Yes.
Are you?
No.
Or are you just a poser?
I'm a poser. I know a lot. I know more than I care to even. It's actually scary how much I know. Wait, we have
Alright.
another person who
We-
donated. Who is this person?
Keith.
It's Keith.
Keith Davies says, I'm about to visit a yak ranch tomorrow. I work on it all the time.
Thank you very
That's
much for your
awesome.
donation.
Did you know that you can actually crossbreed cows and yaks? It's called a
No.
yak
Sure.
cow. They're actually
Really?
quite
Cow?
closely related.
Yakkow!
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't
Are they
know that.
fertile or are they mules?
I don't think they are. If you bison and cows together are fertile, and there's actually a beef breed called Beefmaster, which is like 10% bison genetics. So like cows and bison are fertile. I don't know if I kind of feel like it's a no on yak cows, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Somebody said Musaka. Musako.
Musaka.
I love it.
So currently, caffeine is winning with 37%. We'll give it a couple more or a minute about.
All right, well, we have that time. Del, you win the lottery. You win $250 million, $250 million. What do you do?
Jesus.
What do you do with it?
Oh my God. It's bad.
I buy robots to milk my cows. Step one. They exist. They're very common, actually. It's not that big of a deal. It's only like $250,000 per robot. So
But Del,
it's not
think
too
about
bad.
what you're doing to yourself. Now you
Jeez.
have to name the goddamn robots.
Do
How
I?
And you're
I
yes.
Yeah.
suppose.
I demand it. You can't just be asking them to work for free without
Okay.
being named at least.
Sorry. All right. I'll name. I have to buy the robots, and I have to name the robots, which that'll
Okay,
be tough as
clearly.
well. Yeah. And like I just would like to have more Ayrshires because I just really want some way to support genetic diversity in animal agriculture because it's really tough right now, and like I think it's probably going to be important at some point in the future.
I was just looking up. So somebody's saying the males are infertile, but the females are fertile.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
also called yaddle.
Yeah.
Or
Yaddle.
yaddle, or
Yeah.
I think the local name is DZO, or Dzomo. the
Oh,
female.
yeah, I vaguely remember knowing that. Yeah, they call them Zoe,
Yeah.
and they use them for like they use them for power, right? Like to pull cows and stuff in the like the Tibetan
Yeah.
region, historically speaking.
Right.
I read that on Wikipedia once. Yeah. So here's an interesting thing about my cows. So like, yeah, I have an undergrad degree in animal science, right? And like 12 years or so in my industry, but you can get a PhD just in dairy cattle genetics, and you can get a PhD
Wow.
just in dairy cattle nutrition. So
Sure.
like I have a person who is a PhD in dairy cattle nutrition comes out and works on my cow's diet like monthly. And that's like extremely common throughout the industry. So like, we can talk about that after the poll, I guess, but I just wanted to talk about like why animal nutrition is really interesting if you are a science nerd and like way cooler than human nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna like be shocked at how ignorant this comment is. But like, I simply thought that you just like put the cows out, let them eat the grass and hay that you put out there. Like you actually have to like feed them specific things and make sure they're getting some type of varied diet. Then I take it, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but like, you're not going to get nearly as much milk, right? And so, like we have doubled how much milk a cow makes just since like in my lifetime, like just since the 80s
Wow.
per cow. And that's probably half genetics and probably half science. So
Half
like
nutrition.
science as in nutritional advances, but also advances in cow comfort. There's like a whole field called cow comfort about like making them as comfortable as possible. So that's one of the things we have like this rosy view of like what cute farms were like in 1910 or whatever. But we were actually super bad at cattle nutrition and cow comfort back then. And like, it wasn't actually that rosy of a picture because we didn't have access to some of the things we do now. We didn't have the technology, we didn't have the knowledge. And so like we have doubled how much milk cows make, and it's half genetics and it's half science,
Well, how's the quality of the
That's
milk?
amazing.
Is the quality maintained even though
Yeah, well, it depends what you mean by quality, but yes, I mean, we're getting better in pretty much every measure, but so there's a couple different ways to measure quality. So like I literally get text messages from every tank of milk that I sell. So my milk gets picked up every 48 hours and I get text messages on the test results. So they test how much fat, how much protein, and more is better. And we're getting better at that. there is a point at which you're making more milk, so the percentage of fat and protein is lower. So there was like a point, especially in the 90s, I think, where our fat and protein percents were definitely going down, but we've really fine-tuned the nutrition so much that we're getting that back up there, even at a high volume of milk. So the fat percent. So that's not something they test very often. I don't.
Just wondering.
Yeah, so that's not, so I get paid on the fat, the protein, because the more fat and the more protein, the more cheese or butter you can make out of it, right? And most of the milk that's being produced in the United States is actually going into cheese and butter, because it takes a whole bunch of milk to make cheese and butter.
Yeah.
So the United States is drinking less milk per person all the time, but they are eating more, they're consuming more total milk. Right, because they're eating more cheese and butter.
Yes,
it's more in cheese form and butter form.
Right.
Well, I love, just so you know, Del, I want to make this clear between the two of us. I love drinking cold milk. I love it.
Good. That's
I
great.
only consume milk in cereal. But I can, probably my main dairy intake is cheese.
I actually don't drink milk. Like, it upsets my stomach. I eat a ton of yogurt and cheese, and my mother will literally never forgive me for the fact that I don't drink milk. Like, that and the tattoos. Like, those are the only things that she's really disappointed in me for. So I'm a dairy farmer who orders coconut milk lattes. So that's nice.
So I never thought of a lactose intolerant dairy farmer. I never had that thought pass.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
There is a joke.
That's a punchline to something. We have to figure out what it is.
Okay. Ian, what is the result of this poll?
Like a drug dealer, you don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
Okay, so the result is, with a whopping 37%, caffeine.
Wow.
So that was Evan. That was Evan's,
that
right?
was Evan, and the Evan simps have been coming out en masse in the chat. So let me give a few other Evan puns, presumably. Heifer Locklear, Caffer Sutherland. There's also Beefer Sutherland.
Beefer Sutherland's
Gromu.
I thought of that. of that.
Mussolini. There was also GM Moo. GM Moo. That's pretty good. And Water Mooley. Wait.
Okay.
Moolin.
I have a very important question, though. What do I name caffeine's daughters? Like, are there other like addictive substances we should go for, or should we like
calf
coffee theme? With the coffee theme, there's lots in the coffee theme.
Yeah, latte.
Yeah, latte.
It was a good name.
I did have a cow named Mocha once, many years ago.
Muccino.
Yeah. No, I'll have to. We have 2 years. All right, we have 2 years to come up with some good ideas. So,
so we will be here for that.
Theoretically, when caffeine is 2 years old is when she'll have her first baby and start being milked. So
tea.
Somebody said decaf.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cappuccino. Yeah.
Oh, so on the milk quality thing, the other thing that I get, and like, I don't know, maybe Steve can explain this better than me, but we literally measure the somatic cells that are in the milk. So it just means like any non-milk cell that's in the milk. And that's generally like some kind of immune response. And like, it's also genetic. Like if they will have a high somatic cell count. And so like when you hear some of like the trade debates about like milk from the US versus milk from Canada, it's because historically the US had higher limits on somatic cells than Canada and Europe. They had a lower limit. So they wanted the cows to have less immune response, less inflammation going on. And that somatic cell number also relates to like spoilage. Like if you have really high somatic cells, it's not good quite as long. But recently, in the past like 5 to 10 years, the U.S. lowered their somatic cell requirements, so we're pretty much in line with the rest of Europe and Canada now. And so I get measured on that all the time, every single tank of milk too, and I can face penalties if they go too high.
Wow.
Yeah, this relates to what we were talking about before you joined us in the live stream. You pick any topic, dairy, cow, nutrition, and there is a really deep level of knowledge on that one very narrow topic. And if you don't have at least a reasonable level of expertise, you can't, engage in a meaningful conversation about what's going on. You just don't. You're just too far away from where the cutting edge of knowledge is.
I know, like just talking to you for the last 30 minutes, I realized that I know absolutely nothing about all of this. Like it's insanely more complicated than I thought. I'm sure there's so much more that that we haven't even discussed, of course. But
It's
that
so
said,
cool though. Like it's so much fun.
It is cool because it's this idea of pulling people onto the show and to tell us about things like this. Like this is your hobby, this is your job. It's something that your life is revolving around it. And I just find it fascinating to have see a window into this whole reality that most of us know nothing about.
Well, so like if anybody has any interest in nutrition, like I feel like nutrition studies are kind of like the bane of a skeptic's existence a little bit, because they're always like, you guys have talked about this so many times, like they're always just like full of confounding factors. Like it's so hard. And like everybody wants to know about human nutrition, right? Like everybody wants to know about like how we can feel better or do better, but we don't, like, the research is so hard to conduct. It's so expensive. You can't just put 1,000 people in a room and feed them all the same thing every day. And that's what we do with like all of our animals, even our dogs and cats, they're eating what we give them. So we can literally do, like, I worked in animal nutrition research for a couple years as a project coordinator. We can take, I would do studies, work in studies. Like I'm not the scientist making the studies. They weren't even in the same country as me, but I was actually feeding the birds. Thousands of chickens. They were born on the same day. They are more genetically related than full siblings are. We weigh them by the gram. You put them in pens so that every single pen has the exact same weight of chicks in it. You feed them the exact same thing in the same room. Well, you have, maybe 2 or 4 diets, right? You're not the exact same thing because you're doing a study, right?
Right.
And then in 6 weeks, those chickens have gone from birth to full size and death. And you now have like incredible results. You can get, great p-values out of that because there's so little confounding factor, right?
Yeah.
And so now imagine doing that for 50 years. We are light years ahead of human nutrition in animal nutrition, especially monogastrics. Like ruminants are a bit harder because they live longer, they're bigger, much more expensive. And that whole study I'm talking about costs like a couple $100,000, maybe,
Yeah. You just can't do that kind of evidence in humans. You can't do it.
Why
not? So anyway, if you think nutrition is cool, you should look into animal nutrition. It's really cool. We know so much about it and we can do so much cool science.
By the way, Chad has requested that we have cow updates in the future with Dell. So we're going to schedule that maybe.
Yeah, maybe when it's warm out, you'll give us a walking stream of your farm. And show us how to milk a cow.
Yeah, that would be cool. Let's do that.
Cow milking.
Live cow milking.
Might get demonetized. I don't know. We're not monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You got to stand here, babe. Nobody can.
Jay, do you have a quiz this week, or?
I do. No, I have a quiz. Let me help Olivia finish her tour of this live stream.
Okay.
All right, just say hi. I know you want to say hi. Just say hi.
Hi.
Okay, there you go.
Hello.
Does Olivia like cows?
Olivia, do you like cows?
Yes, but I mean.
No, don't.
Yes. Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
hi.
Olivia.
Olivia, what are you doing?
I want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions about cows?
All right, you're done. Okay, that's it.
No, give me that.
No, that's
No,
it.
no.
Let Daddy do his job, honey.
Dad, show everybody this.
Go ahead. Go on.
Little ragamuffin.
Bye. Oh, okay. I'll show this, and then it's all over. All right, ready? It was my Dylan's birthday yesterday, my son,
Open it.
and here was his birthday card.
Wow.
What a thoughtful person or people gave that to him.
All right, now shut the door
So
behind you,
thoughtful.
please. Then shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door. 4 or 5 times for them to actually hear what I'm saying.
It's getting better.
Bob, I actually enjoyed that card so much. I'm just sitting there opening it for some reason.
For some reason.
Ridiculous. Yeah. All right, we are going to. Okay, I have to stand up now.
All right, Jay's going to set up the quiz. Ian, you're going to do a question while we do
Yeah,
that.
I actually was setting up the quiz, but yeah, let me
Millennium
grab
Falcon.
Millennium
Sorry.
Falcon.
Sorry.
Very
Whoa,
good.
nice,
More
Wendell.
puns. Thank you, everybody.
All right, it's been handled. All right, time for the quiz.
So here's the question. So the woo-woo per nutrition people that are always saying the pet food industry teaches vets about animal nutrition and they don't know what's best for the dog/cat is complete rubbish. It's an interestingly phrased. Basically, they're asking. Wait a minute. So the woo-woo per nutrition.
So
people
the
that-
whole cat and dog pet nutrition
Right.
fad crap
right.
is nonsense because we actually have a robust science behind what to feed cats and dogs.
There you go.
Cal Baca.
I mean, I'm sure it can always be better. Like we can always learn more about all of the stuff that we know about medicine, right? Like anything, medicine, nutrition, but we can always learn more. But yeah, we have like a really good handle on animal nutrition in general, like better than people for sure. I remember when you guys covered the stuff about the grain-free dog foods and stuff. I think that the industry has done a bit better on the grain-free. I forget. Was it taurine? It's an amino acid that's missing from grain-free. And I think most of the grain-free dog foods actually do have supplemental taurine in them now. I think it's taurine. I'm sorry. I'm speaking off the top of my head and pets aren't my specialty. But so like, you know, they are adapting to some of that stuff as it moves along. But the pet food stuff, the pet food trends make me so sad because one of the things is like, so cool to me is the way that our agricultural systems like interconnect with each other. So like pet food is an outlet for meats that humans won't eat, right?
Right.
And so then when you have these pet foods that are like obsessed with like, well, these are only chicken breasts. We don't give you organ meat or whatever.
They're
It's
breaking
like,
the
your
system.
Your freaking dog loves organ meat. Like your dog loves that. Just And it's
told me.
wasteful. Why would we feed
Yeah.
the chicken breast to the dog? They love the livers.
Feed them
It's
human
fine.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the whole system. And that's also why lab grown meat is super cool. But like, I doubt that it's coming around in the next 5 years, which I think is something you guys have talked about too, because these whole systems are like so interconnected. Like one of the main things that we feed cows is distiller's grains, which is what's left of corn after you make ethanol out of it.
Yeah.
And then you get to feed that to cows. And it's a great food for them. So like these agriculture is like so interconnected into all of our systems. And it's like this great, you know, animals eat things we can't, and then we can eat them. You know, there's ways these systems work, even if they're not perfectly balanced right now, as far as like, you know, exactly what the American diet is, you know?
Right. That's why I always love it when they say, yeah, we'll just, you know, we'll get rid of all animals from our agricultural system and grow everything organically. It's like, yeah, with what manure are you going to be doing that? Because you're right. We already can only feed about half the world with the manure that we have. Let's get rid of that and not use artificial fertilizer. So there'll be no food. Yeah, that works.
Well, and that's why organic, like I could go organic, but like I'm not going to, because it would mean that I can't use modern medicine on my animals. And like I'm not gonna not do that. So
Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's all I gotta say.
Nothing's better than R2D Moo, though.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Jay,
So
Del
everybody
came out with Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
away from
I read it in the chat. I read it in the chat.
Okay.
It wasn't me.
So everybody go to darkenergy.games to get ready for the quiz. I sent our link internal here. Del, you can click on that if you'd like to participate. Here's a question that's definitely not rhetorical. Should we in Canada ignore our public health experts and let truckers determine our public health policy?
Let truckers determine your public health policy?
Yeah, if anybody's been paying attention.
I think that's an awesome
Canadian
idea.
news.
I mean, who better than truckers knows how public health works and what the optimal public health policy
Well, they go
should
all
be.
across the country. So
There's
I
so
mean,
much
come on.
overlap between trucking and public health. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think
Quite
you
literally.
really hit the nail on the head with that, Steve.
Quite literally. Another question is, when are the private shows going on sale? Well, I think we addressed that at the beginning of the show, but Jay, do you want to update one more time?
Yes. All right. So the private shows, as of literally a half hour before this live stream started, the venues have been secured. So I will create the Eventbrite listings tonight, Ian will put them on the website before before we drop the show tomorrow at noon. So
Yes.
at some point around noon tomorrow Eastern time, they will be on the website, so you can start buying tickets.
Excellent.
So that means we have
All
two
right.
extravaganzas, one in New York City, one in Boston. We have two private
Mhm.
shows, one in New York City, one in Boston. So we have 4
So
shows
who's
coming up.
volunteering to milk my
Technically
cows
outside.
so I can go to a show?
That's
Oh,
what,
what I
well, you
want.
Very
gotta.
good.
Yeah,
With
how
that.
do you do that?
Why don't you get
You gotta
one
get from
robot to come
Minnesota.
and just mitigate the problem?
Or I could crowdfund a robot. Sure, it's only a
Mhm.
$250,000. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
How long does it
SGU
take?
fans
Every
will turn
12
out,
hours.
right?
You do it. You milk the cows every 12 hours. How long does that take?
Because I have so few and I have like a farm built for more, it only takes like an hour.
Yeah, that's cool. If you live
Okay.
closer to where I live, I would ask you if I can come help you do it sometime. I would love to try that.
Well, if you ever fly through Minneapolis, you are welcome.
I'll
Mhm.
keep you
Very
keep you in mind as I
You have to
travel
do an
the world.
extravaganza there, and then
Yeah.
we can
Yes,
stop on
you
the
should. You should do an extravaganza in Minneapolis. We could meet caffeine.
Oh,
Yeah.
bring it to
Ah.
the show.
Wait, when you say meat, you don't mean like turn her
Eat.
into meat.
E-E-T.
Okay, well, maybe in like 5 years we could eat
We
caffeine.
could
But
eat.
for now, let's focus on meeting caffeine.
Yeah, I would love to meet caffeine. I want to touch her freckle nose. That was so freaking
Yeah,
cute.
that was
It blew
cute.
my mind.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
All
let's
right,
pivot to the
let's-
quiz.
Let's synchronize, everybody.
do
When
this.
I say click, we're going to click the synchronize button all together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Click.
1 second.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Bad taste joke. You're upsetting the vegans. How about the Wordle craze? Are the rogues doing it?
Yes, I play Wordle.
No.
Do you? I was thinking
I
of
got a
starting it.
2
I haven't
today.
started it
Haven't
yet.
tried
I got a
it.
2.
Two.
today.
Nice.
That's
my third
ridiculous.
two.
That's awesome.
That's like the best you could possibly get.
What the best thing? What is your opening word though? What's everybody's opening word?
I try different words.
See, I settled on one and it's serving me very well. Should I give away my secret?
I mean, I don't see
No.
why you shouldn't. Like, it's not like it's ever going to impact you in any way.
It's stale. STALE. That's my opening word, and it
That's a
served
good
me
word.
very well. So it's my tip for Wordle.
Okay.
Yeah, like the best I did as an opening move, like totally, I think I got 3 letters and they were not in the correct position. But I was very excited. I'm like, I got 3 letters, man. That was.
I read about some kid, some teenager who created the game, the app Wordle ! I think, like 3 years ago. So one day he checks his income from his app, which made him almost nothing. He looks at it and he sold 10,000 apps, 10,000 downloads, because it was his name was so close to the Wordle game. So, and then there was a lot of ripoff apps that looked like Wordle but weren't Wordle, and then Apple just like deleted them, but they didn't delete his because he came first, so they had no reason, and he wasn't being a jerk about it. So that's just a fun little side story to
That's
Wordle.
interesting.
Yeah, kid got lucky.
My friend Mikey is actually listening tonight. Mikey, what's up, man?
Mikey, I saw your dog today. So adorable. Little tongue sticking out.
All right, Ian, let's make this happen.
All right, let's do it. We're going to start the quiz, everybody. Everybody should be good, and away we go. A quadrennium is a period of how many years? 4,000, 400, 40, or 4?
Did you mean 400?
400.
441.
Millennium. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Del, would you say that you have a plethora of cow knowledge?
Or a plethora.
A plethora. I'm sure. Yeah, I think I. Yeah.
And the answer is 4. I said 4,
Yes.
apparently.
Awesome, I got it.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, because
You know why I got it? because I was thinking millennia is 1,000 years, mil is 1,000, and quad is 4, so it's got to be 4.
Mhm. Very good.
Very good
So
deduction.
the
there, Zebub.
Olympics is once a the Winter Olympics, which starts tonight, is once a quadrennium. What was the word?
Half a
Quadrennium?
quadrennium, so a duennium.
Next one is, what is the
Right.
offspring
you're
of
right.
a zebra or a zebra for you UK people, and a donkey called? Is it a zonkey, a Deborah, a breaky, or a Donnie? Or it's breaky.
Look at that picture, guys.
Yeah.
It's freaking adorable. All right, let's see.
My
The
knowledge of
answer,
crossing.
is a zonkey. Obviously, it's always portmanteaus.
What happened, Del?
I know all about yak cows, but not about zonkies.
Okay, this is quite
My
a cross between a
knowledge let
zebra and
me
a donkey.
down.
Is a zenki, a zonkey. Donkeys in Tijuana, Mexico, painted as zebras for tourists to pose with them in souvenir photos. Interesting. What did Henry VIII tax in 1535? Exiting the city, divorces, children, or beards?
So while you're doing this, I just played my first Wordle. I got it in 4.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Excellent.
That's good.
Steve is now mainstream.
It's a fun. It's fun because there will be times when you're doing it and you're like, I have no idea. Like you have to just run through all the unused letters and combine them. It could be very time consuming if you don't get lucky.
Yeah, but the fact that you know what letters are not in the word is a lot of information.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually,
Go ahead, Ian.
The answer is a beard tax was introduced in Britain in
Got it.
1535 under Henry VIII. The amount collected by the monarch increased with the beard growers' standing in society, making facial hair a status symbol.
I think that was a science or fiction or something at some point.
We
talked
talked
about
about it.
that.
What is gelatophobia or gelatophobia? Maybe a fear of. Is it dying alone, being laughed at, Brussels sprouts, or answering machines? You'd think it would be Italian ice cream, but
I know that's what I was thinking.
lot of
Or Jello.
a lot of phobia.
I do not know what the root is.
Yeah.
Gelato. What do you think?
The answer is gelatophobia is a fear of being laughed at, a type of social phobia. While most people do not like being laughed at, there's a subgroup of people that exceedingly fear it.
That was a total guess. I got that right in a complete. I mean, Brussels sprouts is obviously a joke answer.
Jay.
Look, some people don't like them, Steve. You know
Yeah, I know, but that there would be a word specifically for
Specific?
Brussels sprouts.
why not?
Person came up with it.
Yeah.
Ancient Romans used this as a form of torture. Ice cold glass balls, inchworms, yelling in their face, or tickling.
Wow, I just spent the last hour regaling these people that I think are so smart with knowledge, and this quiz is just making sure that I know absolutely nothing.
Your humility's intact. Not the bollworms.
Not the bollworms. I almost wrote.
Oh, I finally got
I
one.
almost did, and I swear to God, I almost wrote bollworms. I was right there. I was right there.
Inchworms
The
are not
ancient
that,
Romans used a type of tickle torture called goat's tongue. Someone's feet was soaked in salt water and then licked by a goat.
Oh boy.
So
Yeah, but it ripped. It ended up the goat's tongue is the surface is rough, and it ripped their skin off.
right. So their tongues like sandpaper until their flesh was worn away. It said.
Yeah. So it would be
So it wasn't
ticklish.
so much the tickling.
It would tickle.
Yeah.
It would tickle in the beginning, and then they would turn into it would be horrible. Those bastards. All right, let's quickly go over this.
80%, not bad.
Let's see here. Let's see what question nailed people. Very even distribution. Most people guessed wrong on the first question about the quadrennium. Most people guessed 4,000 by 64%, where the right answer only got 21%. What offspring was the zebra? Most people guess zonkey at 62%
Really?
correct.
I
I've
thought
heard
that
that
was a
before.
joke.
The zonkey.
Most people guessed beards correctly at 71%. Most people guessed at being laughed at correctly at 66%. And wow, I'm surprised most people guessed correctly with tickling at 77%. Excellent job today, guys.
Very
I am
good.
actually proud of my audience. I'm
Proud of
very
you.
proud of you. All right, we have time for 1 or 2 questions. You can even
Wait,
ask
before that,
Dell a question if you want.
I got a new book for my library, and let's see who
Oh, very
predicts
good.
it first as I lower it in front of the camera.
Ooh.
I thought you were trying to show it to us and just really didn't know how your own camera
He's very
worked.
I
confused.
totally
Oh,
recognize it.
the dead, the handbook
The
for the
dead.
recently
Handbook.
deceased.
Yes.
Oh wow, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And it reads like stereo instructions.
Good
So now, when I die, I'm all set. Got to go through this.
job. Well, can you bring it with you? You just got to memorize it.
I love it.
I like how they
No.
made it look old too. It's really
Yeah, it's a little too faded for my taste.
It's just Bob's
'Cause, you
camera.
know,
Jay, you missed
Yes.
this when you weren't here
What is it?
previously. What am I pointing at?
Oh, the sword. Yeah, holy Christ!
it
I got to
is.
come over. I'm going to come over next week. and
Yeah, you
I'll
got to
see
come
it.
over. I'll give you the in person.
All right, so
view.
Steve, how long when it was delivered? How long after it was delivered did you pose with it? Because of course you're going to be like, you're going to pose with the weapon. You got to hold
I didn't
it.
take any pictures, but I definitely
5 seconds, Jay. 5 seconds.
I would have had that thing out of the box in less than a minute.
Yeah, you
I
look at
waited
it,
a
and
year,
then you go, "Whoa."
1 year from conception to it being in my house. It was a 1 year long process to get that sword. I was
Wow.
able to savor the unwrapping and unboxing of it.
I'll take S words. Okay, so
Oh wait,
questions.
I did see a meme that was kind of Wordle related. Let's see if anybody can answer this Wordle.
You can't possibly guess a Wheel of Fortune puzzle with no letters. 80s song lyrics.
I get it.
80s
Nice.
song lyrics.
Mhm.
Okay.
Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Never gonna blank you.
Yeah.
All right, never gonna give
Blank
you
you.
up.
Hey,
Never going to what? What's this last line?
I'm gonna get you up. Never gonna let you down.
You down.
Let you down.
Never
Nice.
gonna
Good job.
Run around.
desert you.
So you just rickrolled us.
I did. Get right. Thanks, chat. Okay.
Rick,
so we
Rick
have
is a
some-
really good guy.
He
I
is
know.
pretty
I watched
cool.
that documentary on
Yeah,
him.
it's like what
It's
an
like-
awesome, down to earth.
Because yeah, you could kind of think maybe he's just kind of a jerk, from that video, but then he's really a super cool dude, and
Yeah, he
he's
is.
totally owned the whole rickrolling thing. Like he loves it.
Mhm.
That leveled him by an order of magnitude. The
Oh,
whole
yeah.
Rickrolling
Totally.
thing. It turned into making him rich and cool, which I just think is awesome.
I think he posts a lot of videos still. I think he does a live stream on Twitch, maybe. I don't know. I think somebody check in chat. Tell me. Okay, a question for Dell. Do you know farmers? Bump it up, bump, 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 bump. No, wait, that's not right. Do you know farmers who have gone the organic route? If so, what happened?
Yeah, so they're usually farmers that were already grass-based because there's a component of being an organic dairy farmer that requires you to be grass-based, like your cows actually grazing, not you bringing their food to them, which so that would really means completely reorganizing your whole farm. So if you're already grazing, which I am, then it kind of makes sense to make the move into organic. I've talked to many organic farmers, and the number one thing they say that sucks to have lost is dewormer. They can't use ivermectin anymore, among other
no.
dewormers. But
Because
for
they
real,
can't get their hands on it?
because it's not allowed in organic.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
that's
Yeah,
terrible.
you have to make it look like it was 100 years ago. Is that basically it?
Exactly.
Mm.
So even worse, really, because we had some vaccines and stuff at that point, but organic basically means, well, actually, organic can use vaccines because they decided it would be cruel not to. And there's a lot of preventative things you can do. I don't know. It's just, that's the number one thing I hear people say they really can't replace. If you do go organic, there's a bajillion homeopathic products that they sell you actually to use to treat your animals with. So that's another thing. Also, what you're supposed to do if you have a cow that's really sick and needs modern medicine, you are supposed to give it to her and then sell her to someone who's not an organic farmer. Unfortunately, that kind of puts the incentives in the wrong place, I think, even if it does happen.
Yeah,
like
it's
you're still
incentivize you not to
incentivized
treat your cow.
to wait. And so
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with that. And like, I do not want to give up using modern medicine and modern technology with my cows. So it's just not something that I would ever consider. And I think people use organic as a shortcut for like, I trust my farmer. And
Yeah.
so I would rather just like try to do that myself by like selling products directly to consumers and skip the whole ditch science part of it.
Well, here's the other thing I thought of when you were saying you would have to invest, like you have to sell the milk to the co-op or whatever as a commodity. If you wanted to sell it directly to consumers, you'd have to purify and do all that by yourself, which
Yes.
is a huge investment.
Yes.
Could that be a motivation for the raw milk thing? Because then if you pretend that raw milk is good, then you could sell it directly to consumers.
It is a huge motivation for the raw milk thing. Huge,
it's a
huge,
scam.
huge, huge. Also, a lot of dairy farmers drink their own raw milk. So they're like, why would this bother anybody? But
Yeah.
you guys, I eat breakfast in the morning with cow shit on my arms. Like if I'm
Sure,
going to
yeah.
get E. coli from my cows, it's not going to be from the milk. Like,
Yeah, so if you're
So,
a
like, if
farmer,
I
that's the
drink my
least
raw
of your
milk.
worries is drinking raw milk. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So but so we drink our own milk. We don't want to say like, oh yeah, our product's dangerous. We drink it every morning, right? So like, and then there's the incentive of like, I've had people offer me so much money for raw milk, like probably triple, quadruple what I get by selling it to the co-op. And that's really hard to turn down when you
Yeah.
are desperate for money.
Wow,
Raw milk, my
that's
God.
frustrating.
Yeah, but the places that do it right. So like I have some friends that have Ayrshires in Pennsylvania that sell raw milk. Like that's their thing. But Pennsylvania has a program for that where they are testing for a bunch of stuff that they're not testing my milk at the local level for. Like they're testing for listeria, they're testing for E. coli, and they have programs set up to monitor these things in a way that they aren't set up for when we're pasteurizing our milk, because pasteurizing handles that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it can be done in a way that really minimizes the risks. It's still a little bit like the only thing that's different is the farmer makes a more direct income from it. It's not nutritionally any different for people. Except, well, I could get into a whole thing about why it tastes different. And that's because like I talked about, my milk gets tested for fat and protein. Well, when you buy whole milk at the grocery store, do any of you know how much fat is in that? Like 2% is 2% fat, right? 1% is 1%.
Yeah, I would just think. I'm guessing here. Whole milk seems to be around 10%.
It's 4%, I thought.
It's 3.25, but the
Okay,
milk that
okay.
I sell is 4.5.
Okay.
So if you came and drank milk off my farm, even if it was pasteurized, it would taste better than whole milk you buy at the grocery store, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of many
Right.
reasons that if you buy raw milk from a farm, it's going to taste different than what you buy in the store. And it's not actually because of the pasteurization,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And also that 4.5% of fat, that's by weight, so which includes water, right? So it's
So milk
it's-
is
I think
like
it's a little
around
misleading.
87% water. All milk is around
Right.
87%
Mhm.
water. Yeah.
right, which means that the amount of fat you're actually consuming is higher than it might seem. And when you say 4% or even 2% milk, it's still kind of a relatively high fat food item because
Well,
when the 2% is
I
going
don't-
up by weight, not by what's the other option?
or by
Sorry,
volume.
right?
Yeah, I mean
Volume.
it's 2%. It's percent. But like we don't measure any other foods in like what percent fat they are, right? So like I don't know what percent fat potato chips are. I have no idea. Maybe they're 20%.
Right, you don't want to
fat.
know.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
Yeah. But like
There's
that's
a
one of the
percentage of
reasons.
calories from fat, percentage of calories from
Right,
protein
percentage of
or
calories.
carbohydrates.
It's pretty high. When I went 20 years ago, when I was super anal about consuming fat, I was like, yeah, 2% milk sounds like there's not a lot of fat, but it is a lot of fat. So that's when I was on a big fat, skim milk craze.
So
when I was
getting back to the Wordle
obsessed.
thing, I noticed there's a lot of themed Wordles, like Lordle of the Rings and things like that. Should we do a skeptically themed Wordle?
Squirtle.
How hard would that be?
But how
Yeah,
can we
easy.
do it? Like, how do you? Can you make it
Questions, how
work?
much effort? And what kind
Just
of
have to-
remuneration would there
I've
be?
never played it honestly, so I just have to see what the technology
You have to
is. but I'm
choose
sure
one
you-
word a day, right? That's it.
and then
Yeah.
that just like
Once
helps
it's
you
set up, it's
figure
the
out.
program. You probably do 100 days and an
In
hour.
Well, what would
advance
it
and
be?
walk away.
Like phrases of like
It's one word. It's
skepticism?
one 6-letter word, right?
Oh,
5
six?
letters.
5-letter word. It's one 5-letter word. So we would need to find a whole bunch of skeptically science themed 5-letter words.
Yeah, I guess that's probably
Right?
totally
Doesn't
doable.
seem. Or make that happen, Ian.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's look into it.
All right. Now we can.
And what does
do
the chat think? Is that a good idea? Is that a
Chat,
stupid idea?
they're already giving out names. Smarty. Yeah, no, we're not doing the bright thing.
Oh,
Either.
God,
Yeah, I
no.
know, right? Yeah, forget that.
Scodel.
I'm watching
Scodel.
like
Skeptal.
so many good questions go by in chat too.
Yeah,
I know,
People
right?
can find me in
Well,
the
okay.
Chat
Discord.
is very intelligent. This is probably the most intelligent chat on YouTube. I would argue.
It's
Right?
because I shared it with all my friends.
Ah, yes.
That's why.
Exactly it. Thank you.
That's exactly why.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions. Another one for Del. If you drank raw milk in the old days, did that give you cowpox immunity?
I
know if
don't
No.
think
think
that's how it
so.
works.
I mean, I don't know if you could transmit. I mean, you can transmit cowpox from touching, or could. I mean, cowpox isn't really around anymore. I don't know if you could get it just from drinking milk, though. I'm not familiar with cowpox and zoonosis transmission.
Okay. Okay, this was from Melissa. I'm new and I don't know if this has been asked already, but critical thinking is the theme of this question. Begging the question. Almost everyone in media and politics misuses this phrase. Maybe I don't understand, but I rarely hear anyone using begging the question correctly. They're asking a question or proposing a question. Am I confused or are they? Maybe can you...
Yeah, we talked about this on the show. The short version is you are correct that the original meaning of begging the question was not like this provokes the question or raises the question. It meant that this I actually even forget like what it's originally supposed to mean. But the thing is, with use, it's like language changes with use. Everyone uses it now to mean, it begs the question, it raises the question. And so now it's correct. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Well, you can't say every single person's wrong in the way they're using language, then they're right. That's the way language works.
Yeah.
But it's not used in the traditional original meaning of the phrase.
Right.
That's
But
correct.
not much in the language does, so you got to just suck it
Yeah.
up at some point.
That's right. Yeah, it used to be like
part of the language
Circular
now.
argument.
It used to mean that that's a circular argument. You're assuming the question that you're asking. You're begging the question, but that's not the way people use it anymore.
Yeah. Okay, next one is, why did it take so long for Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine to receive full FDA approval? They got EUA, emergency use authorization.
Bureaucracy, because it's a long process of paperwork and review of data, and then that it takes a long time. That's the whole point of having the emergency use authorization. It's like, all right, let's just look at the data. Is it good? Great. We'll give it emergency use authorization, and now we'll go through the long, tedious process of paperwork and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's to give it official. They didn't want to shorten the official approval process, so they just created they've always had this emergency use authorization.
I think that the argument was in specifically why was it slower than Pfizer to get?
Why was that? You could also ask, why was Pfizer faster than Moderna?
Right.
It's just they were different because whatever, they had different number of people working on it. Or it begs the question. Just whatever. Moderna, I think, was a little bit after anyway. Maybe they had to. Again, the FDA has limited resources too. They might have just gone through Pfizer first and then done Moderna. I don't know the behind the closed doors details of that, but it doesn't surprise me at all because it's a long, tedious bureaucratic process. The FDA is underfunded and undermanned. The peripheral extent to which I've been involved in this kind of research, it's amazingly tedious. That's why.
Well, it's 6:33. We have some really old questions, but
I think
do
we're
one
good.
more question.
Can we have the first two recorded but never released demo practice episodes of the SGU as premium content?
No.
Wow.
And there's a very good reason why we never did that. We did our first episode, is episode number 1. We didn't do any practice episodes. So if you want to hear those first 2 practice episodes, that's episode 1 and 2.
Yeah, clearly I was practicing.
They should be out.
And it's pretty obvious that we didn't practice before we did those first 2 episodes. We as we said, we built the plane as we were flying it. All right. Well, Del, it was really awesome to have
Del,
you on the
thank
live
you.
stream. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Del.
I love your enthusiasm. Oh my God, it's great.
We
Del,
want
I
to
don't
get
know
you
if
back
for
over
having
the
me.
summer so we can go out into the field.
For
Del,
sure.
you really are, unbelievably informed on this.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's clear. Like you have it all at your fingertips. So it's very impressive. I really appreciate you coming on. It was really cool to see the calf. And
Caffeine.
Caffeine.
do
Happy.
keep us updated. It'll be fun.
I will.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to promote? I know you were talking. I mean, this is kind of behind the scenes. You're talking about
Yeah.
the podcast stuff, but
Nah, so well, yeah. I did podcast for a while at Skeptarchy, but that did end now. It was like leftist politics with a skeptical lens. And I brought some interesting topics to that show at the time, so you can still find that out there. And some of my co-hosts do their own thing. And this is my name on Discord. This is my name on Facebook. This is my name on TikTok. I actually do live stream from TikTok sometimes. So like, if you want to find me or like ask me more questions, I can talk about this stuff all day, as you know. So yeah. And like, there were so many interesting questions in the chat, like that I could have talked about for 20 minutes each about A2 milk and all sorts of cool stuff. So I know people find this stuff interesting. So yeah, hit me up.
That was a lot of fun. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
that's it.
Yep. Thank you, Ian. Thanks everyone in the chat for joining us.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks,
Everyone
guys.
have a
See
great
you.
weekend. The show will be out
Bye, guys.
tomorrow
Thanks,
morning.
Del.
All righty.
Good night, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.
She's a knower.
Good job, Del.
No.
Well, I
job.
listened to this on the podcast, right? So I'm just like milking cows, and so like I can't see that it ended, and I hear you guys keep talking.
Yeah,
I did stop
was-
and get a soda though. I talked a lot.
That's
I
good.
almost
Very good.
like walked away because Evan isn't here, but then I'm like, I can't do that. I gotta at least let people know that we're keeping it going. So you know the secret, Del. Bob and Steve have no clue. They're clueless.
Are
They
they
were made-
seriously though?
Oh
They're
my-
not
They are.
though,
They have
are
no
they?
idea. They don't watch.
No.
They don't watch. They don't watch the live streams back. And there is no way that if they did find out that they would call me immediately. Like there would be an instant conversation.
Mhm.
So anyway, it's
Don't
gonna
alarm
be
them.
fun.
Don't alarm
You
them
know-
to our presence.
Yeah.
When I used to guest on shows or like the first few episodes of Skeptarchy, I would have to like listen to them back because I was so paranoid. And now like it's like, why would I do that? I was there. I don't need to listen to it again.
Well, I did not. That wasn't the cow name that I picked, and I was hoping that it was going to be Zelda. But
Congratulations, caffeine.
yeah,
Good though.
caffeine. It is.
Very cool.
I
Very
can't
cool.
believe that I don't have a Zelda already, honestly, but I
Mhm.
I
Well,
fought for my first cat to be named Zelda, and my husband wouldn't let me, so her name is Princess Peach instead.
Oh, that's
So I never
Well,
returned to Zelda since.
Feel free to use it since it's not my name. I didn't make it up, but I think it is a cute name for a cow.
No,
Jesus
Caffeine is
Christ,
cute.
Del, your knowledge, your farming and cow knowledge is immense. It was really.
Oh, you didn't even get me into the animal nutrition stuff. It is so cool. It is so cool, and I didn't even get into like so much of it. It's so cool.
Well, we'll talk. We'll talk to Sharon, and we can have you come on again. You know, you can give us a cow update at some point, and then we can talk to you about that stuff because I am
For
interested
sure.
for sure.
For sure. Yeah. It's just, I just wish it's really interesting. Like we're so far ahead in nutrition, and then in like some medical stuff, we're like so far behind. Like humans don't get dysentery anymore, right? Because we just get whatever the pathogen is that infected us. Like that's what we call it. We don't call it dysentery. But like cows get dysentery because it's like, I don't know why she has diarrhea. She just does. So like in medical stuff, we're like behind the curve of human medicine, right? But in nutrition, animal stuff is so far ahead. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to think of it that way. I mean, there's a lot of people working on nutrition for animals. You'd think that there'd be a lot of people working on the same for people, but I don't know. It's a funny way how things turned out.
There's no money in nutrition for people. There's only money in pseudo nutrition for people, right? Because it's just marketing. But nutrition for animals, the proof is in the pudding, the milk, the cheese, right? Like there's so much money behind getting it right. And like a lot of the research is like proprietary to the companies doing it, but a lot of it happens at our universities too. Like right now, anybody in chat that has like any kind of biology undergrad, you can probably get a fully paid for master's in animal nutrition right now if you do the research project that they have funded.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Because there's so much money behind it, because agriculture is like the backbone of society, right? So people are constantly working to make it better.
So Del, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being a patron, because you wouldn't, that's how we found you.
Yes.
And please do stay in touch. I'm sure people will ask if enough time goes by. We'll want to see more pictures. It's kind of like the SGU's cow in a sense. You know what I mean? Like our mascot now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just hope nothing horrendous happens to her.
Yes, I know. Keep her alive, for crying out loud.
Not that it will. I mean, chances are low, but things happen. No, this was so wonderful. I appreciate the SGU so much. There are so many things, like even in the skeptosphere, that like other people will disappoint me with bad takes when it comes to agriculture. But like you guys have such a good track record with not breaking my heart. And I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I had, with my Facebook conversations that I put out there, I complain on Facebook and I get all these crazy people saying things to me. I have people complaining to me about how the SGU has gone downhill and everything. I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, we are completely open to anybody sending us corrections. We correct ourselves every time, every opportunity we can. We do it. We don't care. Like if we made a mistake, we wish that we didn't, but the corrections are great because we usually get more information out of people. You know what I mean? So it's like a positive thing.
No, that's the problem. You got to stick to your biases.
Yeah, but we don't have, we try not to have any particularly.
You're evolving.
Yeah. So I appreciate you saying that. And we try very hard to pack as much, real, honest information in the show as we can. And we're going to keep doing it. This is what we've been doing for 16 years. So I just appreciate you, being a patron and supporting us, because it actually, it has an effect. It does. I mean, we have more bandwidth now because I'm working full time for SGU. And it frees Steve up to do more content creation, which is important.
Yeah.
So it is a net positive for sure.
No, it's awesome. You guys are great. I really have been, like I said, just like sometimes like on the left, it feels like people are like super anti a lot of agricultural science stuff. And, I'm in the middle of the rural Midwest. So it just like kind of feels like I'm on my own in my ideas on so many different things. And so like podcasts, like the SGU being one of them, like podcasts, like have really, really kept me sane over the last, 7 years or so. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I've done it myself. I know how hard it is. Like I did like not nearly as good of a job as you guys. So
yeah, I mean, we've woven it into our reality so tightly. Like, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of time, but it doesn't hurt like it used to. Like the first couple of years, it was work. It was because we didn't know what we were doing. Everything was like trying to earn some skills. Like figure out how to do stuff. Just learning how to research.
Mm-hmm.
And get it right. And Steve taught us all a lot, and we all, we learned a lot on our own like that. Once we got past that and we started to get into our stride, I never felt like we fell out of our stride. Like we're just doing it. We always do it. Like we know what we're doing. You know, we're constantly trying to improve our processes, but I just couldn't imagine not doing it at this point. I don't know what I would do with myself. I really don't. I don't know how I would live my life without the SGU at this point.
That's how I feel about milking cows. That's why it's so hard to give it up, even though I'm losing like my entire salary every year.
Well, I won't quit if you don't. Right?
Okay.
Wait, before we go, Del, did you explain your T-shirt? I know people in the chat wanted to know what that was about.
Yes, my T-shirt is merch from that podcast I mentioned, The Dirt, which I you know, they've made some comments. They've had some people on. I think they're definitely in line with the skeptical movement, and they're it's a archaeology and anthropology podcast. Their tagline is like our shared human past, which is just so cool. They bust a lot of myths that people have about like the past, and this T-shirt says archaeology. It's never aliens, and I just appreciate it.
That's cool.
Very cool.
All right, Del, have a great night. Ian, thank you, my friend. Another excellent live stream. We will see you guys all here next week. The show drops tomorrow at noon. And don't forget, if you're in New York City or Boston, please join us at these live shows.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Ian, have a great night, my friend.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Toggle off, Jay. Have a good one. Bye-bye.